I've never really been a fan of Halloween. Not because it scares me. I just don't like how people use it as an excuse to be someone else for a night. Still, that year, my roommate Kayla convinced me to go to a house party a few blocks from our rental near the college campus. We were both 26, finishing our graduate programs, and we'd been living in this small, single-story house for about 6 months. It wasn't fancy, but it was cheap, and the neighborhood was quiet, mostly students and older couples. It was already dark when we finished getting ready. I was in a simple costume, a flannel, ripped jeans, and fake blood for a lazy zombie. Kayla had gone all out with a vampire outfit. Before leaving, she shouted over the music from her phone, "You locked the back door, right?" Yeah, this time I did. I laughed. The week before, I'd forgotten, and she hadn't let me live it down. As we stepped outside, something caught my eye on the front doorstep. At first, I thought someone had dropped a bag of candy, but it wasn't that. It was a mask. Old and cracked, like the kind you'd find at a thrift store, made of hard plastic with faded white paint and black smudges around the eyes. No note, no message, just sitting perfectly centered on the welcome mat. Kayla crouched down, picked it up, and held it toward her face. "Creepy, but kinda cool," she said, grinning. I frowned. Who leaves a mask like that? It looks dirty. "Maybe it's a prank," she shrugged. "It's Halloween. Someone probably thought it'd be funny." She hung it by one of the hooks near the door, the one we usually use for spare keys, and laughed. Now we got our own decoration. I didn't find it funny. Something about it felt wrong. But I didn't want to kill the mood, so I forced a smile, locked up, and we left for the party. We got home a little after 2 a.m. The street was almost silent except for the wind and the sound of dry leaves scraping across the sidewalk. The porch light was still on, but the mask wasn't hanging where Kayla had left it. I remember stopping halfway up the steps. "Kayla, did you take that mask down earlier?" She squinted. "No. You sure it was still there when we left?" "Yeah, you hung it up." We both looked around, expecting to see it on the ground, but it was just gone. "Probably blew away," she said. Except the hook it had been hanging on was inside the covered porch, shielded from the wind. Still, I didn't want to make a big deal about it. I was tired and slightly buzzed, so I unlocked the door and walked straight toward my room. I turned on the light and froze. The mask was sitting right on my pillow. The same one, same crack down the cheek, same dull eyes. I just stood there, staring at it, until Kayla appeared behind me. "Oh my God," she laughed. "Okay, that's actually kind of hilarious. You didn't do that." "No, why would I put it in my own room?" She grinned. "You're overreacting, Mel. Someone probably came by while we were out. Maybe a friend from the party messing with us." I didn't respond. I picked up the mask with 2 fingers and threw it in the trash can under my desk. But later that night, while brushing my teeth, I couldn't shake the thought. No one had a spare key. The only people who knew our address were close friends, and none of them were the type to sneak into someone's room just for a prank. I locked my bedroom door before bed. It was something I hadn't done once since we moved in. When I woke up, Kayla was already in the kitchen making coffee. "Hey," I said, rubbing my eyes. "About last night." She looked up from her mug. "You're not still thinking about that mask, are you?" I opened the trash can to show her it was still there, except it wasn't. The trash bag was empty. I stared at the bottom of the can, waiting for my brain to catch up. "Did you take it out?" "Why would I touch that thing?" she said, frowning. I walked through the house, checking the counter, the porch, the yard. Nothing. That's when I noticed the front door was slightly open, just a crack. "I locked this last night," I said. Kayla's face went pale. She walked over and examined the doorframe. "It doesn't look forced. Maybe you didn't close it all the way." "I did," I said quietly. The back door was still locked, but the gate behind the house, the one we always kept padlocked, was wide open. The chain was hanging loose. That's when I called the landlord. He lived nearby and showed up 20 minutes later. He was an older man, mid-60s, polite but always in a rush. When I explained what happened, he scratched the back of his head. That's strange. Then he looked at me for a long moment and said, "You know, the last tenant left kind of suddenly. Didn't even stay through her lease." "Why?" I asked. He hesitated. She said someone was breaking in, claimed she'd wake up and find things moved around, swore someone was watching her at night. I felt my stomach drop. He forced a chuckle, clearly uncomfortable. Probably just nerves. "Anyway, I'll replace the locks tomorrow. In the meantime, keep the doors double locked and maybe leave a light on." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me flinch. At around 3 a.m., I thought I heard the faint squeak of the front gate outside, the one the landlord promised to fix. I told myself it was the wind, rolled over, and closed my eyes. But I still ended up locking my door again. By the next evening, I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been inside the house. The missing mask, the open door, the gate, it all fit too well to ignore. So I set up my phone on my dresser before bed, facing the bed directly. The idea was simple. If anyone came in while I was sleeping, I'd catch them. Kayla thought it was ridiculous. "You're seriously recording yourself?" "Just for one night," I said, "so I can prove I'm not crazy." I went to bed around midnight, locked the door, and turned on the small lamp by my nightstand. The glow made me feel safer somehow. When I woke up, sunlight was spilling through the blinds. The first thing I noticed was that my phone wasn't where I'd left it. The dresser was empty. I checked under the bed, the nightstand, the desk. Nothing. Kayla heard the commotion and came in. "What are you doing?" "My phone's gone." "You probably left it in the kitchen." I hadn't. We searched the whole house. Hours later, I found it outside, lying face down near the side of the house, half buried in gravel. The screen was cracked and the back casing chipped. When I tried to unlock it, it took several attempts before it finally turned on. The video from last night was still there, but the thumbnail looked strange, darker than my room had ever been. I played it. For the first 10 minutes, it was normal, me adjusting pillows, rolling over, eventually falling asleep. Then the screen flickered just once. The timestamp read 2:37 a.m. Someone had entered the frame. The image was blurry and dark, but I could make out the shape of a person standing near the foot of my bed, completely still. The figure leaned slightly forward, and I saw it, the cracked mask, the same one from the porch. They just stood there, watching me sleep. I hit pause. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped the phone. Kayla stared at the screen. "That's not funny," she whispered. "I told you," I said. "Someone's been in the house." We went to the police station that afternoon. I showed the officer the video, but when he tried to play it, it froze halfway through and the image turned static. He said there wasn't enough evidence to prove anyone had been there. "Maybe it was a Halloween prank," he suggested. "Someone you know messing around." I wanted to believe that, but I couldn't ignore the feeling that whoever it was hadn't finished yet. We changed the locks the next day and even bought cameras for the porch and backyard. For a week, nothing happened. No noises, no open doors, no missing items. Then, one morning, I went outside to grab a package. And there it was again. The mask, sitting neatly on the doorstep, clean this time, like someone had wiped it down. I didn't touch it. I called the police again. When they arrived, the mask was gone. Kayla thought I was losing it. "Maybe it's someone you know," she said carefully. "An ex? Someone from class?" I shook my head. "No one knows where we live." We tried to move on, but things never felt the same. I kept my bedroom light on every night. I stopped recording videos, stopped hanging out after dark. Then, about 2 weeks later, Kayla told me she was moving out. "It's not you," she said. I don't feel safe here." I didn't blame her. That night, I packed a few essentials and stayed with a friend across town. Before leaving, I decided to check the porch camera one last time. The footage from that day showed me leaving the house in the morning. The porch was empty. At exactly 11:12 a.m., a delivery truck passed by. For a split second, the camera caught the reflection in the driver's side window. Someone standing in our doorway, holding something white in their hand. When I paused the frame and zoomed in, I could just barely make it out. A mask, cracked, familiar. And behind it, someone wearing my jacket.